Hey, and welcome to Tax Talk with the Tax Queen. My name is Heather Ryan. I am also known as the Tax Queen. Hey, today I'm going to be talking about reconciling your books and the 4 reasons why it's really important to be doing this on a regular basis. I recommend monthly. If you wanted to work on it quarterly or something, that's okay too. But let's jump in. So, why should you be reconciling your books? The number one reason is to ensure that all of your transactions are entered on your books. So if you're using QuickBooks or Wave or FreshBooks or any other accounting software out there, the items in the accounting software need to match what your bank is showing or your credit card statement is showing. Because if those match, that means your numbers match, right? So we're matching up things and that's perfect. That means that you're going to be just double checking all of that. I know a lot of it comes in automated nowadays because our accounting software talks directly with our banks and pulls all of those things into our bank feeds and we accept them. So that's part of the reconciliation process. But then we're going to take that monthly statement. We're just going to double check that all of those numbers are in there properly. And if you've been keeping up with your books on a weekly basis, which is what I recommend, so if you're working on your books, just set aside a half an hour each week to spend time keeping up with your books. When it comes time to reconciling and you've kept up all of those things, reconciliation could take a very short amount of time because everything is entered in there and you're just double checking that it's in there and it's matched your bank and your credit card. And this is just really just in an audit. You want to make sure, your numbers are accurate. So, because that's your proof. Your statements are your proof of what you've spent and what income have come in. Lastly, you're going to be, the number 2, so why you should be reconciling your books, is you're just double checking your categories. So as you're going through and reviewing things, you reconcile, you look at your reports, and you're like, hey, that number seems a little off. You can just go back and double check that everything is categorized properly and it's assigned, the right thing. So if it was an auto expense, that's what it was assigned, and it wasn't mistakenly called an office expense, or anything like that. If you had software and you're like, oh, that came up as a bank charge by accident, you can just fix that and correct it. So if you're doing this as you go along, it really makes life easier later on because those reports are accurate up to that date that you've worked on them. So if you do this monthly, bam, up till, June 30th was all clean and now you're working on July and you can just double check on those numbers and those transactions. So that helps keeps it more manageable as well so that you don't get overwhelmed. Number 3, so you should be reconciling your books because you want accurate reports and to review your financial health. So every month, you're going to be running those reports. You're going to reconcile your bank statements and your credit cards, any loans you might have, all of that stuff. You're going to make sure they match. And then hopefully you're going to look at your financial health. You're going to review your reports. You're going to say, hey, how did last month go? How did it go compared to the previous month? Maybe you have a seasonal business. So how did it go compared to last year on the same month? And then, when you start to close quarters, you can say, hey, how was the first quarter compared to the second? And vice versa. How was the first 6 months of the year? Does it look good? Am I on track? Are things going well? And it's also a time to catch something that's not working. So that's the whole idea behind the financial health. And that if you're looking at it on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, if you're in there to just keep up with your bookkeeping, then you know that the financial health of your company is going well and it's doing well. Or there's something happening and you need to right the ship. You need to correct the course of action and make that flip side, right? So you need to fix it or eliminate something maybe if it's not working and you're spending too much money on it. So these are all important reasons to reconcile. And just to go along with that, number 4, I call is forecasting and growth. So as you're looking at your financial health and you're pulling your reports, you can use those numbers to look forward. So look forward for the rest of the year, the next quarter, the next year, maybe 5 years out, if that's, how far you want to predict and look at your future. And this is really important because you may be looking at growing and you might need extra help. So you may need to hire employees. Maybe you need more contractors. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to launch a new product next year. What's that going to do to my numbers? You're working on that now. So those are really important things. So these are the 4 reasons to be reconciling your books on a monthly basis at least, or reconciling your books. So number 1 is just ensuring all your transactions are entered. Number 2 is double checking the categories are correct and that they're correctly reflecting the expense and what it is. Number 3, reports and your financial health. And to tag along with that, number 4 is your forecasting and growth. So looking forward. See you next time.